Have you ever?
Are you listening? Damn.
All right, you guys, welcome to the AFC North Talk. We are your hosts for today. We actually have Quincy joining us, but I am Ace. I represent the Bengals. My co-host, Tony Serino, he represents the Steelers. We also have Quincy Carrier, who will be coming in soon, representing the Browns. And Sonny's actually going to be out today, but he's representing the Ravens. Sonny is on vacation, but even though Sonny is on vacation, we got some Ravens news to talk about. There's a lot of rumors kind of going around, Tony, with the Ravens, specifically about Deebo Samuel. As you guys know, Deebo Samuel requested a trade from the 49ers. It's been a lot of graphics with him being in a Ravens jersey. Tony, do you think that this is a possibility, or are Ravens fans just doing Ravens things like they have with a lot of the free agents? Or is there actually smoke here?
Yeah, we know that Ravens fans are certainly great with Photoshop. It is one thing that their fan base is known for, is they get those Photoshops out and they get them out quick. Look, I think this is an interesting one because it makes a lot of sense from the fact that this is a Ravens team that's consistently tried to, or talked about over the last couple of years, adding talent into that wide receiver room and adding unique talent to put alongside Lamar. When you look at how Deebo was used in San Francisco, right? The fact that he was this wide receiver who was like a pseudo running back in a lot of cases, especially the way that they used him this past season and into that playoff run, that makes it even more intriguing with the way that Baltimore and the way they run their offense. Do I think this is a real possibility though? Like, I think it makes a lot of sense, right? Don't get me wrong. I get why Ravens fans want it and why it would actually make sense on the field, but I don't think that I worry about, is San Francisco actually going to want to trade him? Like, is it actually going to get to that point? I know he's requested the trade, but that doesn't mean that he actually has to be traded, right? They can kind of play a game of chicken here with Deebo and say, we're just going to fine you and you'll sit out a season and try to do it that way. So I think it's going to be tough for the Ravens because first off, they have to get the Niners to want to trade him, and then you're talking about a really young receiver who, I know we've already seen Devontae Adams and Hill get traded. But this is like a 24, 25-year-old receiver. This is probably going to be talking about multiple first-round picks or like, a first and 2 seconds. I mean, the comp here, the compensation is going to be significant.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's one of the reasons why it won't happen, right? Like you said, the compensation is going to be a lot. And then you also have to compensate them with a new contract, right? And the other reason that this doesn't make sense as well is you already have to pay Lamar Jackson. You have Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, that you would have to pay. He's supposed to be friends with Lamar. Lamar wants him to stay there. If you trade for Deebo Samuel, I'm not so sure that that's happening. The other thing, though, like you said, I think he would fit their offense perfectly if he wanted to continue that same role. He's reportedly saying that he doesn't want to be used in that role. Well, so what are you even getting as Deebo Samuel in that offense if you can't even use him as Deebo Samuel in your offense? And I know when the Bengals played him, outside of him doing like a couple running plays, he really didn't do anything in that game as a receiver. And it's really that running that really allows him to open that dimension. So will it get done? I doubt it, just because of the circumstances with Lamar. You got to pay Deebo as well. And then you got to pay in the draft as well with those picks. Like you said, you mentioned the first and second rounders. That's definitely what he would have to go for if they're moving up off of him. I just don't think that it makes sense for Baltimore to do that, to give up that much. So on paper, it makes sense. But then when you actually look into the details, not so sure it makes sense. So one thing, what we'll do is we want to also talk about Denzel Ward and his contract, but out of respect to Quincy, we'll probably try to delay that a bit. So we got a couple of super chats. So I'm just going to try to fire through some of those and see what we have here. So let me start up at the top is I'm going to start with Animatry. I think that was the first one that we have there for $5. Says if Willis and Pickett get drafted in the top 3 via trade-ups, I see a team panicking and trading for Baker much higher than he should with the contract. So basically they're saying, if Pickett and Willis gets drafted in this top 3, someone's going to panic and basically trade for Baker. Is that something that you see happening, Tony?
I doubt it because, again, for all the reasons we've talked about, right? You got the contract that you have to pay if you trade for him. You're accepting essentially a guaranteed $18 million that you can't get out of. And you got to, whatever draft compensation you have to give up to trade for him. Again, you're trading for a quarterback who has a whole bunch of question marks on the field, a whole bunch of problems off the field with his, we talk about the attitude stuff and the way that it ended there in Cleveland, the contract, the compensation. I mean, again, there's just so many things that are going wrong as far as this Baker thing. Look, if a team were going to trade for Baker Mayfield, wouldn't it have happened already?
Right. I think so. I would have thought that the Carolina Panthers or somebody would have traded for him if they really wanted him.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, but as long as we're talking about Baker, we should also address this report that came out this week that we had a lot of fun with in our little chat that we have, when Jeff Darlington said that if Baker Mayfield were cut, he would sign with the Steelers immediately, which is, again, and it's the same thing as Mary Kay, right? Jeff Darlington is a great reporter. He's done great work. And usually when he says, like, sources tell me that this is going to happen, generally speaking, you can trust that is actually like happening, right? When he talks about the rumor mill stuff. But this is where, again, we have that kind of crossover between a reporter who is giving his opinion and so people that once we get the blogs and everybody taking over, all of a sudden his opinion becomes, oh, Jeff Darlington says that when Baker gets cut, he's signing with the Steelers immediately. The Steelers want Baker. Baker wants to go to the Steelers. And again, it's just, look, from my perspective, the Baker to the Steelers thing has never really made a ton of sense after they signed Trubisky. I don't know that the Steelers are in a situation where they want to enter into camp with this quarterback battle between, like, we all think a week from yesterday that they'll have drafted a quarterback. They have right. Trubisky. Mason's not going anywhere. And so, Baker, you put Baker in that room and it's like, I mean, I joked about it. It is the greatest quarterback room ever assembled. I mean, it's the most talented quarterback room ever assembled, but there's not, it's just, why do you
even as a Steelers fan though, like, Mitch Trubisky, Baker Mayfield, I would lean Baker Mayfield. Like, to me, Mitch Trubisky for me wouldn't be a reason that I would be like, I'm not going to sign Baker Mayfield, because I feel like Baker Mayfield, I've talked about him being Andy Dalton and stuff like that. He's still a pretty good quarterback, right? Like, he's not bad. Mitch Trubisky, I'm not so, like, he's kind of average, but I wouldn't say like he's had games where Baker, for example, like Quincy talked about all the time, against the Bengals, where he had like the 25 straight passes. I don't think I've ever seen Mitch Trubisky have one of those moments. And I would feel like if I'm the Steelers, not only am I getting Baker Mayfield, I also kind of get an inside track on their offense, right? Like, I know what Cleveland's doing. I know kind of what they like to do, Stefanski and this and that. So you do kind of get an advantage there. And then it would depend on, I think if he's cut, right, then you don't have to pay the $18 million. And then you're getting him and you're getting that inside advantage. So I could see why people could talk themselves into Baker Mayfield there. Now, to be honest with you, I'd respect Baker Mayfield more with the Steelers than I would a Mitch Trubisky or maybe even a rookie quarterback, because with rookie quarterbacks, you just don't know. There's still a chance, right? If you guys do get Willis, that we probably would have some fear. But I think most people would look at it and say, Baker Mayfield, good receiver core, Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris, like, not bad at all. And I got a good defense, like, not the end of the world as long as Baker doesn't turn it over. And when you kind of talked about it, I think last week, is Baker Mayfield as bad as Ben Roethlisberger was last season? I don't know. He might be a little bit of an upgrade slightly, depending on who you talk to. So I would think that the Steelers, I would think it would be a smart move for them to go after Baker Mayfield. And I think it definitely works for Baker. And Baker wants it because Baker is petty.
Well,
he wants to get his revenge. He definitely wants to get his revenge against Cleveland. So I think number one quietly on his list could be Pittsburgh. The only thing, though, is if this draft happens and you guys take Willis, there's no chance of that happening whatsoever.
Right. Right. Well, the other thing is, again, talent-wise, is Baker Mayfield a more talented quarterback than Mitch Trubisky? I probably would agree with you there that I think Baker Mayfield is a more talented quarterback at this point than Mitch. But again, the whole problem with Baker is that you can't just evaluate it from an on-the-field perspective because there's this whole off-the-field part of it where, Odell forced his way out and the locker room seemingly all sided with Odell. The whole thing where he kind of at the end of the season, he just says like, oh yeah, I'm shutting it down. I'm going to talk to my agent and my family, not the team doctors, not the coaches. I'm talking to my family and my agent and my team, and we're going to shut it down. Again, I don't know that Tomlin has certainly dealt with some drama in the locker room in his time. I don't know if he had his choice of the next quarterback, right? The quarterback to succeed Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know if he wants to enter into like, yeah, I'm ready to just have a quarterback who is, as much of a pain in the ass as anyone. And that's where I think the Steelers would say, we'll take our chances with Mitch.
After AB and Lev Bell, I think we're good. Yeah. Got another one here from Josh Matter for $4.99. Is it me or does Ritter going to the Steelers give us Big Ben flashbacks? I'm assuming that's as a Bengals fan. A big guy from Ohio that is a quarterback's quarterback. Yeah, I would say you definitely would have it even weirder because Miami of Ohio is pretty near Cincinnati, but this is like right out of Cincinnati. So yeah, that would, I think, make it very confusing for people from the city of Cincinnati. We'll see if it happens, but yeah, that would kind of be similar to that, I would say. Nova Stone, appreciate that, bro. $2 super chat. Says Ravens don't need Deebo. He needs to go to Tampa with Tom Brady. Yeah. I would think that would be a Nova Stone thing to say. I don't think the Bucs have enough money to do that, but hey, that's neither here nor there.
Are they going to get AB back? Are they going to bring, Bruce Arians, who, he had the fallout with?
Bruce Arians is gone. So he is gone.
AB coming back. We know Brady loves him.
Nah, AB's going to Baltimore, bro. We already know
true.
It's a done deal. It's a done data. But Akalon sends in a super chat of $10, says, with high contracts lately, do you think it's smart for offices to be ahead of the curve and pay what seems to be big money now? Or do you think it will hurt them in the future? Could you beat a kangaroo one-on-one? I'm going to say no.
In football, probably, because a kangaroo does not play football. But, like, if we're talking about a one-on-one in a fight, I don't know.
They have, like, boxing kangaroos?
Yeah. But you seen the video where that guy, he gets a good shot on that kangaroo. Gets him to back off a little bit. Maybe.
Mike Tyson versus a kangaroo, I'd pay to see that, especially after that viral video.
Oh, if a kangaroo were on a plane pissing off Mike Tyson, not going to be a good scene.
But Tony, what are your thoughts? Do you think teams should try to get ahead of the curve and pay big money, or do you think that they should, wait and see if it hurts them in the future?
Well, this goes to that whole Deebo thing. We're in a weird offseason where all these players are getting traded, wanting to be traded. We look at the way Tyreek Hill got traded from the Chiefs, Devontae Adams got traded from the Packers, and all. And wide receiver right now is. I mean, it's you're talking about quarterback money that's being given out to some of these wide receivers, right? We're talking about we've now breached $30 million a year, right? Tyreek Hill's contract, I believe, was $30 million a year. Right. That's big money to be given out. And I do have this thought, and I want to get your opinion on it. I want to get everybody's opinion because it's kind of a half-baked idea. It's like a hot take that's not ready. It's not ready to come out the oven yet. But I'm gonna take it out early just to see if it's ready. I have this thought that wide receiver could eventually become, or maybe is in the process of becoming, the new running back. In that, are we sure it's smart to be paying guys this gigantic money? When you look at why running backs, why their value just crashed, right around the Le'Veon thing. I mean, the whole running back market crashed. It's now, I believe, the lowest paid position in the National Football League, even lower than safety, lower than tight end. Right. The only people on the team that make less as far as the stars on the team are the kicker and punter. That's it. Everybody else is making less than running backs. And the reason for that was twofold, right? Number one, they don't last long. Right. And then number two, they're like a dime a dozen position, right? You could go out and get a running back in the draft, whenever you need it and kind of plug and play. And I'm not saying that. Okay. So when you fast forward to wide receiver. Obviously, wide receivers don't have the issue of not lasting long, right? Tyreek Hill is 29. I think Devonta Adams is in his 30s. They're still playing at a very, very high level. That's not an issue. But every year now, since this draft, since this Deebo Samuel draft, we have had just this influx of talent at the wide receiver position like we haven't seen in years past. I mean, this 2019 draft that Deebo Samuel was a part of, that's the same draft as A.J. Brown. That's the same draft as DK Metcalf. That's the same draft as Terry McLaurin, right? Deontay, Hollywood Brown, all in that draft. The very next year, you've got CeeDee Lamb, you've got Justin Jefferson, right? That was also a very, very good draft. T. Higgins was in that draft. And then last year, who's the best receiver in football last year? You can make a strong argument. It was not only was Jamar Chase the offensive rookie of the year, but he was the best wide receiver in football. And that was a very deep and very good class. And now we kind of fast forward to this year, and the same thing is being said about this wide receiver class. It's so talented. It's such a talented wide receiver class. And so, yeah, I have this kind of, I don't know, it's a half-baked idea that are we sure you should pay wide receivers right now? Or is it better off that because there has been a consistently over the last 3 years, this influx of talent at the wide receiver position, should you take your chances and like, hey, you know what, we're going to roll the dice back. That's what it seems to me. That's what the Steelers are doing. That's what the Packers are doing. And that's what the Chiefs are doing.
Looks like Q wants a word on this one. Go ahead, Q.
I have a serious question. If you feel like you have a $50 million quarterback, should that limit how much you should invest in your wide receivers? Because if you think, like, if you have Joe Burrow, now obviously Joe Burrow is like the exception to this because you think he's good without these guys, but he clearly has like the best wide receiving core in football. But let's say it comes time for Joe Burrow to get that $50 million. If you're running the Bengals, do you think it's the best play to invest another $50 million in trying to keep two of those three guys, right? And that's generous. $50 million at the rate that these wide receiver contracts are getting up. Right? Well, another $50 million a year to keep two of these three guys at wide receiver, or do you think it's more worthwhile to maybe allocate that money to the defense because you feel like as long as you got Joe Burrow, a couple of good offensive linemen on offense, you straight? You know what I mean? Like, right. So I think the question more is, and again, this is why having mid-tier quarterbacks is always a money pit, right? You can save money on getting a mid-tier quarterback is like when like they have those afterpay things where you want to buy something that's like a little expensive, like a couch. It's like only $200 down. It's like, yeah, but you get charged interest every month. Having a mid-tier quarterback is like that because the quarterback contract might only be $15 million for over 3 years, 15 to what, $45 million over 3 years or whatever it is, right? That's what the mid-tier quarterback contract will get you. But in order to support that mid-tier quarterback, you're going to have a $20 million wide receiver here, a $20 million wide receiver there, a really expensive and good offensive line. You want some good running backs, and then you probably going to have to spend some good money on the defense in order to keep that thing afloat. And you still might just end up with the Kirk Cousins results, right? At the end of the day, like it could be a money pit. This is why I'm always team. If you feel like a guy's worth $50 million, you give the dude $50 million because I'd rather take my chances with the dude with $50 million than try to assemble all the pieces of Exodia to try to prop up Kirk Cousins to a Super Bowl.
But no, I'm with you. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think the argument here for me would be not that you should only pay the wide receiver in the case where you have a bad quarterback. I mean, I almost think that there's a case to be made that there are receivers that kind of price themselves out, right? Like who has more value? Well, it's a stupid question. Who has more value, Devonta Adams or Jamar Chase? Everyone would say it's, there's no value in paying Devonta Adams as the receiver in football, right? Because he has to be better than the best receiver in football, which you can't do that, right? So, Jamar Chase is obviously more valuable because you don't have to pay him any money. But like going back to the original point here, why do we assign so much value to quarterback, right? Why do quarterbacks make $50 million and running backs make 10? It's because quarterbacks are incredibly rare. It's so hard to find them. And running backs is like a dime a dozen position. And it does feel to me like wide receiver, while it is very, very valuable, right? This is where it becomes harder because running back, you can also argue, is maybe not as valuable as other positions. Wide receiver is super valuable, but there are a ton of them entering the league year in and year out. And when they enter the league, it's not like it takes them 5 years for them to be good, right? Same as quarterbacks now. Quarterbacks can come in and be immediately great. Wide receivers are coming in. Justin Jefferson did it 2 years ago, and Jamar Chase did it this last year, where they come in and they are immediately at the top of the position. And so, it just feels to me like, boy, if you told me today, would I make any receiver the highest paid receiver in football? No, because that same way with running backs. I would never make a running back the highest paid running back because there's no value in that whatsoever, because I can go out and get a rookie who can put up, maybe it's only 90% the numbers or 80% of the numbers, but I'm paying 10% of the salary. That's a massive discount.
Or
no,
you could get the expensive wide receiver to prop up what you feel like is, a good but not great quarterback, and it still not work. I've seen that one happen somewhere. I don't know exactly what team did that, but it has happened.
The other side to this though is how does that market affect whether you take a guy in the first round? You might see guys take a wide receiver in the 5th round now, just so they can get that 5th-year option, or else you're in a situation like the Bengals right now with T. Higgins. Like, luckily for Jamar Chase and the Bengals, luckily we don't have to cross that bridge, at least now, but who knows, because guys can just demand to get traded like Deebo Samuel. You usually have them up until that 5th-year option. So that 5th-year option for us is key, whereas if T. Higgins and Jamar Chase were coming up at the exact same time, that would be – obviously we'd have to get rid of one of them. So luckily for us, it's that situation. But now I start to think of, like, our team's going to start jumping up in the first round just to get a wide receiver, just because they want that extra 5th year that they don't have to pay that $30 million for. I think that we'll start to see more of that as well. But speaking about paying for things, let's pay some bills. We've got our good friends at Manscaped. Tony, take it away.
Oh, it is draft season, and with the first pick in the NFL draft, Ball Saxonville has decided to pick Manscaped to stock up on their D. Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have sponsored us to make sure you don't get booed out of the bedroom like Roger Goodell. Support us and head to manscaped.com and use the exclusive code AFC North Talk. That's AFC North Talk, all one word, at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. Everyone's been asking why combine athletes ran the 40-yard dash so fast this year. Well, a big reason is because of the Lawnmower 4.0. This elite electric trimmer now serves over 4 million men worldwide. That's a lot of aerodynamic pants potatoes. Because of their ceramic blade and skin-safe technology, your nicks and snags will be reduced. After trimming, your package will look as big as what the Seahawks got in return for Russell Wilson. Rumor is Kenny Pickett got tripped up with Manscaped and is skyrocketing the draft boards. I want you to look in the mirror. Do you see any nose or ear hairs dangling? Look, fellas, the ladies out there think that long nose hair is a major turnoff. The Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer is your solution. Why not use the best tools for the job? Their performance package also comes with anti-chafing performance boxer briefs, a travel bag. The Crop Preserver is an anti-chafing ball deodorant, and the Crop Reviver is a spray-on toner. They also have launched some other amazing hygiene products for men, ranging from cologne-infused body wash, 2-in-1 shampoo, and aluminum-free deodorant. Head on over to manscaped.com to get 20% off and free shipping, but you got to use our promo code AFC North Talk.
That man is the GOAT of ad reads there. That is the GOAT. Thank you, Tony. We appreciate that. We'll get into a couple of super chats. Yes, that definitely. Thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring. We'll get into a couple of super chats, and then we kind of held up this conversation about Denzel Ward because we wanted to get Q's reaction to that. So once we get through a couple of these super chats, we'll get back into that. We got one from Chris B for $5. It says, y'all split this between you two. This must be pretty old. My boy QC needs to learn a lesson. Wow. Nah. Appreciate it, but we're gonna split that 4 ways. Dustin Crawford 499 says Logan Hall at 31, please. Concerns with Lindenbaum's pass protection in the AFC North. Too many Bengals fans on his wagon when interior O-line in this draft is deep. I have heard a lot of people clamoring for Logan Hall, but the Linderbaum hive is a very strong hive, so it's hard to go against that one. But I'm not one of those people that believe that just because you have short arms, that just means that you're going to be a failure in the NFL. But we'll have to see what happens. But looking at the film with Linderbaum, he's all right. He's all right.
He's good. His film is good. His
Why were you
measurables.
not Team Rashad Slater last year then, Ace?
At first, I was a Slater hater. Then I watched the film. When I saw the film, I was like, all right, yeah, I could get with it. It's not the sexy pick or anything like that. But as soon as I cut on the film, Rashawn Slater definitely would. But I forgot. You were right, Quincy. People were bringing up his arms last season.
Dude, last year's class was like
dominated.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is dude, last year's class had so many, and I guess this year's class does too. It's this weird thing that we do where we go, maybe he's a really good tackle, but he's more of a guard. He's a guard. And we take all these tackles who like, their film is really good, and we go, yeah, but they're really a guard. They're really a guard.
On the other side.
He's really a right tackle. He's not a left tackle.
Let's just wreck him. Let's just mess him up. Let's just send him to the other side because that's easy. Let's just switch him to a guard because that's easy. Like, oh man, it's like sometimes 4D chess where people just really kind of wreck some of these guys with some of those decisions there. Ashton Lane for $2 says the Bengals versus Saints game better be played in New Orleans. That would be an intriguing one to see, especially with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. That would be very interesting.
Is that this year?
Yeah,
I think that is this year, but it could potentially be an international one. So that's the only. Everybody's worried that they're gonna make it the international game, but we'll see.
Nah, they usually make it when you play like a team like Jacksonville, the internet. They don't ever give a good game. Well, the New Orleans Saints might be Jacksonville now, though, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That Jacksonville is always over there. They just decide to put Jacksonville over there every year.
They own Fulham, right? They always volunteer to be over there. That's the home team of England for England. That sucks for them.
Definitely. So Anime Tree here says, do you see Cap getting a contract this year? Me personally, I'm not so sure. I think it's been 5 years. He obviously can still play, but I think teams right now with the space that they're in, with trying to move past that, I don't know if they're actually going to end up giving him a contract. Does he deserve one? Sure. I would think Seattle, maybe. There's a chance maybe there. But I don't know if there's anywhere outside of there where Cap's getting a contract. Guys, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, he should have had a contract years ago. The question now is, okay, look, what is he, 30? I mean, he's got to be like in his mid
I think he's like 30, yeah, mid 30s, like 33 or something,
32.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, quarterbacks play till they're 40 now, but he's been out of the league for so long. He'd have to come in somewhere and be a backup and go through that whole 34. Yeah.
34.
Yeah. Probably hasn't played since he's 29, right?
Yeah. 34, that's a concerning year. Well, I mean, like, not for every quarterback, right? But like some quarterbacks, like, there's A-Rod, there's Tom, maybe Matt Ryan that can get to like that, but a lot of guys fall off at 34, 35. Like, it's just it's when that decline starts to happen athletically.
Yeah. Yep. So probably don't see that one happening. Nova Stone here for $2, and then we're going to get into Denzel Ward real quick here in his deal. What player do you not want other teams to get? I'm assuming that he's claiming in the draft. I know for Q, I know that's got to be Perrion Winfrey. Anybody else?
I'm on record. Perrion Winfrey and Jordan Davis. Don't you dare. In the AFC North. Don't you dare take them boys, okay? Everybody else is cool. You want to draft Garrett Wilson, I have no problem with that, right? But you want to come out here and get Perrion Winfrey or Jordan Davis, don't wear that jersey in front of me. I don't want to see none of that. Nope.
Tony, which player is that for you that you don't want the Bengals, Browns, or the Ravens to get?
Well, the Browns do it to me every year, right? They've done. I mean, this is like a perennial. They take Greedy, they take Delpit, they take JOK, they take every guy I like. So I'm not. Again, I don't like a player. There's no players I like this year. I mean, maybe they'll take Malik. That's the only one that could really hurt me.
Tell us who we get. Who do you love in this year's draft? I want to know who.
The thing. The Browns always do this thing where they get there's a kind of locked in first round guy that slides. Like this was Greedy, right? This was Delpit. This was This was JOK last year. So I don't know who that's going to be this year. I'm worried it's going to be a D lineman. I'm not putting a name on it this year. I'm not doing it. I've learned my lesson here. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this.
Is it David Ajabo?
For me, I think it would probably be the Ravens getting someone like Stingley or McDuffie or Sauce. Either three of those guys.
Would that be worse than them getting Jordan Davis in your mind?
No. Go ahead. Take a guy that's only going to play 20% of the game. I'm good with that.
Wait,
I
do you
would
not?
love that.
Well,
No,
Unless they want to do
I think
this.
he's going to play on passing downs. I think he has to.
I promise you, he's gonna be out there at least. I would say he would jump.
If
to
you
like
take him
60%.
that high, you have to though.
You have
can't
to.
justify.
Yeah.
You
Oh, you're
can't
not
justify
Here's the thing,
50
though. I'm
if you're
saying
not gonna play
there's
him.
there's like 10 teams in the NFL where if he gets drafted to, he's gonna go to a defensive line that's not as deep as the one he left at Georgia. Like, so he's gonna be asked to do a lot more. Like a lot of the snap count stuff there was really about the depth at Georgia. I mean, they got 2 first round. They have dudes who are better than Devontae Wyatt.
Yeah.
Like
the guy next year, everyone says is going to be even better than Davis or Wyatt. Yeah.
Jermaine Johnson's a top 10 pick right now. He left. He left.
Can't get,
Just
he couldn't
to
get on the
playing
field at
time.
Georgia.
No, that's one of the most ridiculous defensive line rosters I've ever seen in major football, let alone just college. Like, this is ridiculous.
Look, to whoever drafts Jordan Davis, if you are silly enough to draft Jordan Davis and then when any team comes out in 11 and you go, well, we got to take Jordan Davis off the field because they're in 11, like you're an idiot. Team.
How you gonna see his big butt running off the field at 4.7 speed and be like, yeah, he can't be out there passing down? It's like, come on.
Hold on. They're in 11. We got to take him off. Can't be out there.
No, I need somebody like Greg Williams to get their hands on him because Greg Williams to have that man drop back in coverage. Like somebody who just get experimental with him.
Facts. So next up, we're going to talk about Denzel Ward cashing in. Denzel Ward signed a 5-year, $100 million contract with the Cleveland Browns, including a $20 million signing bonus with $71 million guaranteed. Q, what were your thoughts on this, and what does this mean for the Browns?
Well, what this means for the Browns is you name a young core player on this roster, and for the most part, they're locked up for a couple of years now, right? Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett. JOK's on his rookie deal still. He has 3 years left on that one. Who are other than Greg Newsome is on a first round rookie deal, 4 years left on that contract. John Johnson's going to be there for a couple more years. You can kind of move yourself out of that one if that doesn't work out. Grant Delpit is there for a couple of more years. We'll see what he turns into. And then offensively, you have 2 of your core offensive linemen extended. You have 1 on a rookie deal with a couple of years left. So you have 3 years of potential control with Jedrick Wills. You have a rookie that you just drafted to replace your right tackle. Well, not a rookie, a second-year player that you're going to draft to replace your right tackle. You have a third-year player that you have to replace your center, who's going to be pretty cheap because he hasn't really done that much if you really want to extend him next year. And then you have, obviously, Watson's locked up for a long time. He's locked up contractually for a long time. You got Nick Chubb. You finished that deal out last year. And then Amari Cooper's under control for the next 3 years. So they're locked in. This is the core. Like, over the next 3 years, it's going to be about locking down this core because, again, they're not going to have first-round picks for the next 3 years. So they better hope some of these guys that got in the second round and the third round hit from these last couple of drafts because those are the guys you're going to be betting on to extend to keep your young talent flowing. Maybe you get lucky and get a David Ojabo in like the second round somehow, or you get somebody to fall there to you, something crazy like that. Who knows? It happens every year. Somebody falls out the first round. Nobody thinks should. But other than that, you got to find a way to keep replenishing the talent. So they're locked in. This is their core for the next 3 years. This is what they're aiming for. I mean, I give a tip of the hat to Andrew Berry because I didn't think you could keep Denzel Ward. I thought he would be a casualty, right, of the cap. But he's found a way to keep this core together. And what he has done effectively is re-jumped this 3-year window that they kind of busted by wasting 2 of them on Baker Mayfield, right? So now you're back at it. Now you're right where you started a couple of years ago. It's up to you to win now in this window, but there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is a win now roster. This is a roster that is meant to win a Super Bowl within the next 3 years. It's up to them to capitalize on it. And it's going to be hard as hell to do it because it ain't like anybody's just going to let you walk through the AFC. It's not like your division is going to let you walk to the division championship. So it's going to be a long road to get there, but now you know who you're going there with, right? And that means something in that locker room. You're not having a bunch of guys worried about their contract anymore. You notice the Browns aren't a team where these guys who want their money have to delete. Well, Baker maybe, but Baker's a whole different situation where these guys who want their money got to delete their bio and do all of this dramatic stuff to force their hand. No, Cleveland set a precedent. If you play well, if you a dog, you get your money. You get your money, right? So nobody's really stressing about that. There should be a cleaner, more calm locker room environment. And now we're talking about a division, which is kind of scary, where I think all 4 of the front offices are sound. At the very least, right? Like we don't have any of this dysfunctional stuff happening with any of the 4 teams. The closest thing we have is whatever the Ravens are doing with Lamar Jackson. And if the Ravens want to fall to the wayside on that end, hey, baby, I cheer that all day, every day. They better treat Lamar right. Lamar, stop letting them treat you like that. You got to leave on him, man. Stay in Miami, play for the Dolphins. Like that'd be better for you. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I think this is a step they've made in the franchise where, hey, look, they're making sound decisions. They're keeping good players. They're not letting guys walk for stupid reasons, and they're not being shysty about money, which is good to see. Ultimately, at the end of the day, so that's my thoughts on it. I'm not really worried about the long term of the deal. I know some people are, but this is the NFL contract. It might be 5 years. It's really 2 years. Like it's really a 3-year deal. You know what I mean? Most of these deals get renegotiated by the time they enter the 4th year of the contract anyways, because the market jumps or whatever. So any deal here that's going past 2025, it's going to be restructured by then.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
You got to tip your hat to Andrew Berry and what they're doing over there, because the one thing that I thought, like when Nick Chubb was paid and everything like that, I was like, how are they going to be able to pay Denzel Ward? Not only were they able to do that, they also were able to get Deshaun Watson and guys like that into the fold. So that was a great thing for them.
Yeah. No, we hear a lot, and Chat saying it, or Chat was saying it earlier in our discussion here, was like, the cap is fake. The cap is fake. Don't worry about the cap. Look, the cap, yes. I mean, the cap is malleable. It's not this kind
Fluid.
of, yes, it is very fluid. You can look. I'm going to guess that in doing this deal that they actually saved some money in cap space, right? This would always happen.
$1 million first year hit thing, yeah.
Bunch
of signing bonus money.
The best example of this is Aaron Rodgers' extension. Everyone freaked out. He got $50 million a year, and he lowered his cap hit by like $19 million. Right, so they paid him the most money anyone's ever paid a quarterback up until the Browns. And they lowered his cap hit by $19 million. I think that the nice thing for, like, to Q's point here about how it's structured and how this affects the Browns in this kind of window in the next 3 years. His cap over the next 3 years is 5 this year, 12 next year. Then it jumps to 23. So we're talking about a player who's being paid like the top corner in the league. From a cap perspective, he will not be the highest cap number until 2024. So that's a really well-structured deal on the part of Andrew Berry. And like you said, it locks this group together at least for the next 2 years.
Definitely. So from a huge deal to another deal within the division, the Pittsburgh Steelers are bringing back a player. Tony, talk about that player and what that deal looks like for the Steelers.
Big money. What was Denzel Ward? It was $20.1 million a year. Yeah, the Steelers, listen, Terrell Edmunds coming back on a equally big deal. 1 year.
Dropping more mixtapes because his last mixtape was not bad.
Terrell Edmunds? Wait, Terrell Edmunds made a mixtape?
Yeah. It sounded like Rod Wave.
I know AB's album came out.
No. Terrell Edmunds' first mixtape, trash. I remember hearing about that. The second one, I caught it like on the playlist in Spotify. I was like, who's this? It was Terrell Edmunds. And I knew it was Terrell Edmunds because it was his face in a Steeler logo. I was like, this is actually Terrell Edmunds rapping on this song. It's a song called like Proud of Me or something. It's like a Rod Wave ripoff song, but it's a good Rod Wave ripoff song. So, I'm happy he got that bag. Hopefully he drop another mixtape or EP with that money.
Did he get the bag? I mean, look, the Steelers a year ago declined his 5th-year option, which everyone at the time said, oh, stop. Why are we like, again, Terrell Edmunds is this weird case where at the time when he got drafted, the Steelers were soundly mocked by the draft community for taking what everyone considered to be a second, maybe even 3rd round pick that year and taking him at like the 27th pick overall or whatever it was. but he turned out to be, a serviceable starter. I mean, the guy missed, I think, like 6 games his entire career. He started on two defenses that were top 5 in the National Football League. But so declining his option last year was a weird one because it only cost him $6.5 million to take it. And, this is one of those like classic Kevin Colbert shrewd moves of they declined the option knowing, in Kevin Colbert's mind, I'm sure he thought, look, the safety market is no one's getting big money for these kind of mid to low tier safeties. I'll get him back next year on something less than 6.5. And then they went out and did it. I mean, I thought when they declined the option, generally you would think if you decline a player's option and they hit the open market, I mean, they're not coming back, right? Because it's kind of a disrespectful move. Like, you don't even want to pay me. Like, it's not like they had to pay him top money. They had to pay him mid-tier money, and the Steelers still balked at that. So bringing him back, I think, is one of these classic shrewd Kevin Colbert moves. And it also, people are talking about this a lot in Steeler Nation today. This move, I think, does set them up for a potential trade-up. Because the Steelers may have to use assets from this year's draft, include their first-round pick plus more, to go up and get a Malik Willis or whoever it's going to be. Well, that would have meant that the potential pick they could use on a safety, goes away, right? Because the Steelers still have a big need at wide receiver as well. So by doing this, you bring Edmunds in, you got that locked in for a year, you got your starting safety. Hey, if Kyle Hamilton falls to 20 and you want to take him there, that's cool. But it's not a situation where they feel like, well, boy, I'd like to trade up to 12 to get Malik Willis, but I don't want to give up my 3rd round pick because I really need to take a wide receiver and a safety after this. So I think there's part of that in here too. It's a good move on the Steelers' part though.
Facts. So we'll get into some super chats. Appreciate that, Tony, on breaking that down. We got Nova Stone for $2 here. I think we already read that one. We got another one here. Professor Chaos, Tony Howell or Baker at 9M.
So yeah, Sam Howell or Baker at $9 million. What would I rather do? I don't like Sam Howell at all. I don't think he's going to be a good quarterback. And it's one of those things where I've started this on
comp to.
What's that?
And who does Sam Howell get comp to?
Baker Mayfield. So yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like, would you rather have young Baker Mayfield or old Baker Mayfield?
Would you rather have the Baker Mayfield or the Baker Mayfield you don't know?
Well, I don't know. Sam Howell is Sam Howell going to quit on the team? 16 games in, like that's, I guess that's a question.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's the you don't know part. If Baker play bad, he ain't playing week 17 wherever he at. That's the one benefit of it. Whatever happened to Carson Wentz last year at the last week of the season, Baker not playing that game. If he throw 4 interceptions the week before, he's gonna talk to his agent and sit out. You know what I mean?
Here's where I sit. People who heard me on Locked On Steelers this week are going to say you're saying the same thing twice, which I am, is I made this exact same point. But I would, if the Steelers draft Sam Howell, I hope that they trade up to do so. And I know that sounds weird because I don't like Sam Howell and I think it would be a bad pick. But again, for me, this whole thing about Steelers getting a quarterback is process. Take the guy you love. Trading up for a quarterback means we're not sitting around waiting for him. We love this guy. We think he is going to be the future. So we got to trade up to make sure we don't lose him. So if the Steelers really value Sam Howell, then I hope that they trade up and get him. Even though as much as I might not like the pick itself, my big worry with this draft, the Steelers are going to sit back at 20 and go, well, we'll just take whatever guy is left. I think that's bad process. And then as far as, the Steelers taking Howell at 20 or Baker at 9 easily. I would rather have Baker Mayfield because the problem with drafting a quarterback at 20 is you're not getting out of that a year from now. Like the Steelers, let's say the Steelers are the worst team in football and they already drafted Sam Howell. Are they going to draft another quarterback 1 overall? Or let's say they're not 1 overall, but they're 10 and they need to move up. Are they moving up and giving up on the quarterback they just took a year ago? I don't think they are. So, that's why for me, it's like, go up and get the guy you like. Don't settle for anyone. And if you're not, as long as you don't settle, we should be good here.
Now, what Tony had not mentioned was there is another level of quarterback hell you could end up in when it comes to trying to find a quarterback. He mentioned the trade up. That's what you want to do, right? Just go get your guy.
Yeah.
The sitting and getting, it can work. You sat and got Ben Roethlisberger. The Ravens sat and got they traded up for Lamar Jackson. But you can sit and get, it happens. The one thing you don't want to be is, I'm going to trade back and get the quarterback that I want. That's always an awful idea. It never, ever. I would want to know who worked out. Like the guys who have traded back to get their quarterback. When has that ever worked? I know it doesn't work often because I've witnessed a few of these. Hey, I'm gonna trade back and get Johnny Manziel, or I'm gonna trade back and get Brandon Wheaton, or I'm gonna trade. Did we trade back for Okay, that's the only
trade
two.
back in. There might have been a trade back in for Wheaton.
No. We traded back. Well, no. We traded up from 27 to 20. No. We traded from 22 to back to 27, and then we got Brandon Wheaton. And then the trade back for Johnny Manziel, I think we might have moved a little bit forward, but still, you had 2 first-round picks. So, yeah, the trade back to get your guy, sit and get, you could do that. Move up, absolutely, if you love him, because you could end up with Mitchell Trubisky in a draft class that has like Watson and Mahomes, but that trade back thinking you gonna be the smartest guy in the NFL. Oh man, I'm not gonna get a guy in the first round. I'm gonna wait back and take Deshaun Kaiser in the second round and show everybody how smart I am. That never
value.
works.
That's the one thing. So I totally agree with you, Q. I think this idea of getting value at the quarterback spot makes absolutely no sense. No,
because the ideal is,
by the way,
not to get value.
You're muted, by the way.
Yeah. The ideal at the quarterback position is not to get value. It's to get a guy that's worth $55 million.
Right, exactly.
Facts. Soul Train has a super chat here for $5. What would be a scarier scenario? Baltimore getting Deebo or drafting Jordan Davis? And then Tony, did you see Pat McAfee mentioning the urinating tree?
I did not see McAfee mention urinating tree. That is funny though. It's funny that he's actually going to get national props.
So for me, as far as
Rossi was on ESPN, right?
As far as Deebo, I think Deebo will probably be the more scary scenario between the two, but we kind of talked about that earlier. Don't see it happening, so I think Jordan Davis is a possibility. Obviously, Jordan Davis is scary. So I would go with Jordan Davis on that one. We've got another one here from Akalone for $10. If Baker was in this draft and he's just come off a down season, do you think he goes number 1 over Mitch? And do you feel like it's pointless to get a mediocre quarterback when you know you're not going to get or be a real contender? I guess I'll let
Can I hit this one first?
Q get this one. Yeah, go ahead, Q.
Okay, so a ton of interesting questions here. I leave this one up because I want to hit all aspects of this, right? If Baker Mayfield was in this draft and he was coming off of a down season, would he have been number 1 overall pick? There's a question of if Baker Mayfield's in this class if he goes number 1 overall. I think you could make the argument, but the circumstances for Baker Mayfield to go number 1 overall were special circumstances, right? John Dorsey was a guy who especially loved him, loved his personality when a lot of people were out on it. But another thing about Baker Mayfield is you go back and look at those last 2 years at Oklahoma. Those are 2 of the best, some of the best college football passing seasons we had ever seen pre-Joe Burrow, right? Joe Burrow kind of blew the window on what a really good passing efficiency season looks like, and then Dwayne Haskins after that. But before that, it was Baker Mayfield and that efficiency that he showed, that accuracy, the advanced numbers. PFF was raving about him before that draft, and it took 2 of those seasons like that. And he played like a demon versus Georgia and almost beat them in the playoff. That's how much it took for Baker Mayfield to seriously go from a second round guy who he was always looked at as a later round prospect before that, even when he had won the Heisman Trophy, to, oh man, he might be a top 5 pick, to being a top 5 pick, eventually number 1 overall. But if he had a bad year in college, he would have been a 3rd round pick. Like straight up. That just, if one of his last years in college were bad, not a lot of guys are getting the benefit of the doubt at 6 foot, 215 pounds. Like if you're Josh Allen, you can go, okay, we can fix that. If that's Baker Mayfield, you want Baker Mayfield to be ready to go, right? If you're going to draft a guy who's not tremendous in the upside aspect of it. As far as the second part of that question, do I feel like it's pointless to get a mediocre quarterback when you know you're not? It depends on what your motivation is, right? If your motivation is to win football games, well, if your motivation is to get a franchise quarterback, then getting the mediocre quarterback is going to do nothing to help you. If your motivation is to sell tickets and just have people feel like your team is reasonable, yeah, you get the mediocre quarterback. You sit there for a while, you throw your hands up and tell people we paid Kirk Cousins. I don't know what else to do, right? But it does get in the way, right? And this is where we get into this argument about, is tanking something that should be embraced, or are these moves that teams make something that should be embraced? Because in 2017, like this whole investigation about the Browns being tanked, it's not ridiculous. The Browns were clearly tanking. They just can't prove it, right? Like that's just, it is obvious. They cut Brock Osweiler to start right, Deshaun Kaiser that year with like Cody Kessler as the backup. Like you can't tell me that was about winning football games. That was about accumulating assets, right? So if that's the game you're going to play, you can play that game. And it might get you a quarterback. It did not net the Browns a franchise quarterback. The Browns had to get a franchise quarterback in other ways. I tend to think being a competent franchise is very underrated because it keeps people in the door long term, and it makes you better at evaluating these players, and it makes you more capable of finding a quarterback. When you do the tanking stuff, you end up recycling guys in and out, and then you have no consistency, and then you're drafting whoever at that top 5 pick, and it never ends up being that franchise quarterback. And that's how you end up in QB hell like the Browns were for 20 years. So I think there is value in making sure that you can maintain and build something. So if you don't have something like that, you probably need to get you somebody mediocre just so you can steady the ship a little bit so you can have that. But if you were like the Steelers, who Kevin Colbert ain't going, well, not Kevin Colbert's not there anymore, but
well, this is his last draft. He's there up until Thursday.
Yeah, this is last Saturday, draft. But yeah, we know that the Steelers' philosophy is not going to change dramatically, right? You know what I mean? Like their front office is going to be the Steelers' front office, so they have no reason to really get a mediocre quarterback and win 7 games. They can full on afford to stink this year, get the guy that they really want next year in the draft, and then just move on from it, right? So it depends on who you are. Not every team can do this. The Bengals were competent enough to be able to do it, right? Stunk that 1 year without Dalton. Boom. Joe Burrow gets hurt, stunk a little bit at the end, still had some fun moments in that year, and then boom, Jamar Chase Super Bowl season. They got to the Super Bowl. They didn't win, but they got to the Super Bowl. And then now they looking real different right now, right? So if you're competent, you can do it, but if you're not, you better just get you somebody who can stay shit for a couple of years so you're not rotating in and out people all the time.
Yeah, for me, I think if you want to be, it depends on what situation you're in. If you're tired of losing and stuff like that, 2 or 3 win seasons, then getting a mediocre quarterback, it might be cool, but it's almost kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a wound that's going to get ripped off eventually. And you might have players that are really good around them, but you kind of will be wasting their time, kind of similar to what the Titans are going through right now. And then you have to figure it out, because once all of these other teams get a better quarterback, then you're kind of sitting in a situation like, man, and it's even worse now. Like, I feel like maybe 5 years ago or a couple seasons ago, you could do that. If you're in the AFC now and you're doing that, you might not go to the playoffs even with a mediocre quarterback, because they're loaded over here. So for me, it is somewhat pointless, because when you have a mediocre quarterback, you won't be in Joe Burrow range. Like, in order for that to even happen, so many things had to happen for the Bengals to be that bad. Because with Andy Dalton, we were always going to hover between 7 and 8 wins. So if you do it, you just got to be good enough to be able to be like a Pittsburgh Steelers and be able to get somebody like Ben later in the draft. Because if you don't hit on that, then you're never going to have someone that really threatens that starter there, and you're never going to be in position to get that guy. Moving on to the next super chat, we got Akalon, who says, by the way, Q Miz is repping the Browns in the draft. We got Mike Penley with a super chat of $10. Appreciate that, Mike.
He's got a question right after it, I think.
Oh, here we
His
go.
Question is,
he says, Q, if we offer John Dorsey, Baker, and Kareem for picks 32 and 34, would he take it since he likes both players?
No, you lost your mind. I'm not about to sacrifice Kareem Hunt to get rid of Baker Mayfield. No. What in the world? Absolutely not.
Can we pivot? I need to pivot.
I'm not throwing more. I'm not. Oh, what?
Anyone who watches Q's channel might have seen a video Q did the other day. Q, I want to welcome you to the bandwagon that I started last year. Q said that Kareem Hunt is in for a career year, because he is now on board that Kareem Hunt is a better running back than Nick Chubb. Welcome.
I didn't say all that. I'm just saying stylistically, it matches up better with what he's asked to do now. But no, I'm not throwing another player. Look, we have already sacrificed how many careers into that black hole that was Baker Mayfield for the last couple of years. I'm not about to do that again, dog. Like we already threw Odell in that hole. I'm not about to throw Kareem in there with him. Kareem don't deserve that at this point, right? Kareem can stay. Just Baker's the only one that has to go. I'm not even pick 32 or 34. Honestly, if I didn't have an attachment to Kareem Hunt, I would probably take that trade. If I got 32 and 34,
yeah, that's a hell of a trade.
Yeah. I would probably take that trade because you get the cap space. Are they eating the money on Baker Mayfield? Now, if they eat the 18 million, hey Kareem, bro, I'm sorry. Like, you're gonna have to kick it with Baker for one more year, dog. Like, you could come back after it, but like we gonna have to do that.
Nah, I feel you. I feel you on that one, Q. Nova Stone for $2 says, why are the Ravens the only team sticking it to the cap? I think the Browns are sticking it to the cap. They're finding ways to move around it.
Well, the Ravens haven't.
He's saying like, why are the Ravens the only team acting like the salary cap matters?
Oh, the salary cap matters. Oh,
because they haven't extended Lamar yet. They haven't
extended Lamar.
The Ravens have two contracts that they can't maneuver right now, and it's their two biggest ones: Lamar at 23 and Ronnie Stanley at 18.5. They can't move the Ronnie Stanley money around because they may have to cut Ronnie Stanley. I mean, there's like a realistic possibility that after back-to-back season-ending injuries that he just can't play. So they got to let him go. And the Lamar money, obviously, that's, we've talked about that. They got to get that deal done. It'll likely happen before the season starts. But if it doesn't,
look, man, the Ravens out there balancing that checkbook real neatly and sturdily, and everybody else in the league like, we don't need to balance it if it go up every year, right?
Looks like we got another one here from Animatry for $5. Appreciate that. Joe Thomas and Dawson might get in the hall between the Browns Super Bowl time.
Well, I mean, Thomas.
Phil Dawson is going to make,
but Phil Dawson is not getting into the Hall of Fame. He's not
a Hall of Famer. No, Joe Thomas, Hall of Famer.
Ring of Famer. Hall of Fame, no.
Joe Thomas?
No. Phil Dawson.
Oh, Phil Dawson. No. Dawson. No.
Phil Dawson is Ring of Fame. You know what I mean? We can put that number up there. But Hall of Fame? Nah. But when it comes to Joe Thomas, Joe Thomas gonna go in the Hall of Fame like this year, right? Isn't he eligible this year? It's been 5 years since he retired, 2017. He was his last football year.
He is up soon.
Yeah.
They already announced this year's class, but
well, it's next year. Well, the Hall of Fame game in 2023, he'll be eligible. Yeah. They'll probably have the Browns play it or something like that, and it'll be like a big thing for Joe Thomas. It was the biggest moment he's ever had in his Browns career, unfortunately, because he was just there during the doldrums. Poor Joe Thomas. Just the worst years to be a Cleveland Brown. It was like exactly when he got drafted. It was an all-time great. It was so bad.
Right, facts. Feeling Dangerous 113, $5 says, hey Q, I know we keep talking about interior D line, but what about edge rushers? Any of those that you like at 44?
I mean, like, unless somebody falls, then I feel like it's gonna go pretty early. Like let's say in a world where like this Kartophilus fall happens all the way to 44 or something ridiculous like that. Yeah, of course. Let's take that.
What about David Ojabo?
Yeah, I would take him.
Yeah.
I would take him and stash him. You know what I mean? Because that way you can tell yourself you got a first round pick next year, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would take him and stash him, even if Perrion was on the board, because I understand the long play in that. But yeah, other than that, like the edge rushers that are projected to be there at 44, there's like who do you like?
I'm just saying, Tony. It seems like Tony might like David Ojabo. Is Ojabo?
No.
I actually think that your guy.
You kind of asked about him twice.
No,
you kind of asked about him earlier, and then you kind of asked about him again. And
no, the reason why I asked him in context of the Browns, I actually think Ojabo is probably not the kind of player if you're Cleveland that you want to take, because isn't Cleveland in a window that's a right now window? So if you're in a right now window, meaning that you need to win in 2022 or 2023, because 2024 contracts start kicking in. We talk about there's no, the cap is fake, but like the cap's going to start being not fake in 2024. So you need guys. So when you get these rookies, you need them to be impactful players right away. Now, Ojabo may come in next year and be very good off of that Achilles tear, but it might take him a little longer. And especially, just because football development stuff. So I actually think if I'm the Browns, I would pass on Ojabo, even though it would be a great value thing. I don't know if they're looking for long-term value so much as like guys who can play right now.
Well, here's my retort to that and why I think they would. Let's say for that other edge rush position, best case scenario, they bring back Jadeveon Clowney on a 2-year deal, right? It might be a fake 2-year deal, but it's a 2-year deal. That's probably what's going to happen. If not, you're looking at Justin Houston. You're looking at, Melvin Ingram, whatever. It's going to be a 1-year solution anyways at that edge position.
You're going to get Melvin Ingram. You better play him. You better
play
him.
Yeah. He's
got a minimum snap count.
yeah. That whole weird situation, right? But, if you're already at a point where you're going to have a duct tape solution there at edge, and that duct tape solution was going to start over any edge rusher that you could get at 44. So if you're in a position where you're like, hey, this guy's 21, we need to get younger at that second edge position and get somebody who could be there long-term next to Myles Garrett, I think Ojabo makes sense there because, we've been cycling in and out the old guys, Olivier Vernon, all these guys have been trying to have that work out there. Now we need to have a rookie step up. And again, I don't love this class at 44 at edge, outside of the guys who were projected to go in the first round this year. So if you get somebody like him, hey, I think you could turn that around and you can get somebody. But you need to have more long-term solutions for the defensive line. Hold on, I got stuff playing in the background here. But yeah, that's what I think.
Just stay away from Drake Jackson. What? You just said something? Ira for $2 says Cincinnati in the house. Anything coming from members? Yeah, we do have some things planned. Appreciate the love there. We've got another super chat here from Luke Jeffrey for $4.99. Says, I don't know how I'm going to root for Mitch in Pittsburgh as a Browns fan. Remember him throwing touchdowns for my high school in the state championship. Steelers, come on.
Luke, whenever you want to cheer for a winner, just let me know. I got some merch for you.
All right, we got another one here from Rowdy Everlap for $2. Appreciate that, bro. Says Ken Riley deserves the Hall of Fame. Total travesty. Yeah, the guy that's pretty much in the top 5 all time with interceptions is not in the Hall of Fame. Went to my alma mater. I've got the Ken Riley thing up there. Nicknamed the Rattler. Went to FAMU. Definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because he played in an era where guys didn't even throw the football like that, and is literally in the top 10 in interceptions. So hopefully he gets there. The other crazy thing about Ken Riley is he never played cornerback until he got into the NFL. He used to actually play quarterback, and then became a all-pro for the Bengals. Anime Tree. Go ahead, Tony.
I was just going to say, I just want to look, when breaking news happens, you don't have to spam it in. I put a guy in timeout, spam it in chat. Don't spam chat. Yes, Kadarius Toney's getting traded. It's not an AFC North thing. So
bro, we're not about to stop the show to talk about no damn Kadarius Toney.
Yeah. Thank you for the breaking news, but no spamming in chat. It's our one rule about chat.
Gotcha.
Not for no damn Kadarius Toney. Come on.
They said Anime Tree here for $2 said why not Dawson? He has an NFL rule because of him.
Because he wasn't the Hall. You know how good you have to be as a kicker to get into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, you got to be pretty good.
You gotta be Vinatieri is the only guy of this, and Justin Tucker. They're the only two of this era that you're like, they'll be in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? And how many great kicks it took Adam Vinatieri to get in? Like, we're not putting Mike Vanderjagt in the Hall of Fame, right? Or what's the Steelers kicker right now?
Chris Boswell.
Chris Boswell getting the Hall of Fame. He's as good as Phil Dawson was, right? Phil Dawson was a great, reliable kicker for the Cleveland Browns, but again, he didn't play a lot of relevant games. I understand it's not his fault, but he just didn't have those moments to cement himself with the rest. And then at the end of the day, he's a kicker, and he was a good kicker, a really good kicker, but he wasn't like a historically excellent kicker. Like, you need.
Was he like a mid 90s in Madden? If not, then nah.
He was like an 89. You know what I mean? Like, he was always really good, but he wasn't like
right. That right there's the point. It's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of really good. I know it's like a cliche thing, but
it's not true. The Hall of make me feel good. That's what a lot of you want. I like this guy. I want him to be in the Hall of Fame. It makes me feel good if Eli Manning in there. Eli Manning shouldn't be in there because nobody was like, damn, I got to play Eli Manning this week. He won
quarterbacks with 2 Super Bowls. It
is what it is. The resume will get you in. You know what I mean? The last name helps too, but let's
He
be
shouldn't be
honest here.
first ballot though. He shouldn't be
Not
first
first
ballot.
ballot. Not first ballot.
Not first
Let's be
ballot.
honest here. Who are you more afraid of? A team that has Derek Carr at quarterback or a team that quarterback has Eli Manning? I feel like it's pretty similar.
No, Eli, because Eli's clutch. Eli's clutch as hell. That's
Derek's
why I worry. It's
clutch.
a big moment.
Derek's
Eli's
clutch.
Gary.
Not against the Bengals.
Did
Not
you
in the
watch?
playoffs.
Did you come on? Did you? Watch
Oh,
the
there's
last drive
plenty
there?
of bad Eli
Come on,
clutch
bro.
moments that you could pull up on Eli. Like Eli's
I'm
had
not
a couple
Eli
of great
fan, though.
moments.
I'm not an Eli fan.
But,
I am
yeah.
the wrong
Come
guy.
on.
I feel like
Eli
my
is-
hot take is Phillip Rivers, even without the Super Bowl, is better quarterback than Eli.
Oh, most definitely. That's not
Yeah,
even
yeah.
an argument. You're like, man,
Yeah,
that's
but-
that's super true. But
All right, we're gonna do
Eli Manning was like, when he was playing, his most famous thing was like the meme of the face that he made after he threw an interception. That's not necessarily a quarterback you fear. You know what I mean? Like, not saying he wasn't good. Eli was cool. I like him. He's a funny guy on the ESPN broadcast. I'm not about to sit here and act like people was
great on
like
that, yeah.
sweating Eli Manning when you played the Giants. Like, it wasn't like that.
Nobody was sweating Eli Manning. He had all of those 4 interception games and stuff. I'm glad that somebody else cued that we both agree on that. Eli Manning was severely overrated.
Former
and
Raven
should not be in the Hall of Fame.
You ever hear former Raven Dominique Foxworth ever have to talk about? No, it was Ryan Clark. It was Ryan Clark who said this. He was on Get Up and talking about Eli Manning. It was like, man, when we play Eli Manning, like the defensive meeting wasn't, hey, you got to be real careful. You can't make no mistakes. Peyton gonna get you right here, like it is when we play Tom or Peyton or somebody like that. The conversation in the defensive room was, look, Eli gonna throw you one. Be ready for it. Like. There's levels.
Exactly.
There's levels.
You just knew Eli was gonna give you one for sure.
He's gonna give you one. He's Kirk Cousins with Super Bowls. Hot take.
Yeah, that's true.
That
is
is
true. One thing that I will say is I didn't get to the Bengals news. Obviously, the Bengals have had this thing kind of storming over them for the past 20 or some odd years, where they haven't had an indoor practice facility. According to WLWT.com, the team received the zoning variance needed to build the indoor facility. So they did get approval from the city. I believe that they're also trying to get approval for a temporary indoor facility as well. So Bengals will have an indoor facility. I'm going to answer these last couple of super chats, and then I want to get into our final thoughts from everyone on the draft.
Congratulations. The standing ovation for the Bengals finally getting that indoor facility. Look, it is not going to really help them that much be a better football team, but all it is going to do is give Bengal fans one last thing y'all got to defend y'all squad about, because I know y'all was tired of hearing about.
The one thing that I didn't like about not having the indoor facility, because if you go to Cincinnati and there's this bridge, you literally can watch the whole practice. So if you're going against Bill Belichick or something and he wanted to spy on your practice, you literally could. So I always worried about it from that aspect, because it's like, dog, the practice is literally wide open to the public. They can see what you're doing and stuff like that. So
And
that
I'm
was
not gonna lie.
Tarp wall.
I'm not gonna lie though. One time I was at Bengals training camp a couple years ago. It was before Joe Burrow? Yeah, I believe it's before Joe Burrow. Or it might have been a year they drafted Joe Burrow. I can't remember which one. But I remember it rained during the practice, and it was the saddest thing I ever seen, watching these boys have to cross the street in their cleats to get on the bus to go to the practice facility. I was like, this looks like high school. Like, I remember doing this for baseball practice. But yeah, other than that, the optics is really why you want to do that. You know what I mean? Like, so good on y'all.
Definitely. No, that's fine. It's crazy because at one point, since it was such a big thing, I thought the Bengals were like the only team in the NFL without one. There's West Coast teams that don't have them, but it is what it is. Professor Chaos with a $5 super chat. He says, "Cue my prediction to draft both Baker and both third-round picks, and send both third-round picks to Detroit for the second-round pick, and then we get Jordan Davis." So I think he's saying to trade. I think he means to trade Baker and both third-round picks to Detroit for the 32nd pick, and then the Browns get Jordan Davis. I got you, Professor Chaos. What do you think of that trade, Q?
Ain't no way in hell Jordan Davis gonna be there at 32.
He's not gonna be there. He's not. He won't be there. Not at 32.
He won't get past 20. He won't get past 20.
Yeah, like it's. Hey, hold on now. Let him go to 22. Okay,
He won't get past 20.
I think he's gonna. I think Jordan Davis is. is going to be one of those guys that goes a lot earlier than people think that he's going to go. And it's going to be because of the freak of nature, because of that 40 time, because of the potential that he has. Somebody's going to jump up and get him, especially in a draft where you don't have many guys that really stand out. So I think Jordan Davis stands out just because of that athletic profile. And I think that he will go potentially, I'm going to say like in the top 12. I'm going to throw out a hot take with that he's going to go before pick 15.
Before
so I think
Baltimore,
he'll go before
please.
that.
Before
You
Baltimore,
know what's
please.
interesting though, right? If Jordan Davis were 100 pounds lighter and played edge, he would be no doubt the number one like pick of this year's draft, right? Because if he were, let's say he had, because the combine he had, if you scale it to somebody who's what 260 or so 270 and plays edge at 6'6" with his kind of length, it would have been probably like a 4.46 40, something like that, and a ridiculous like 1.58 split. And then like all the bend and height that he has, people would have been like, oh man, this is as freaky as a combine as we've seen since Myles Garrett or he would have been one of those guys like Chris Young and Jadeveon Clowney and everything like that. He would be the number one overall pick because it's not like Aiden Hutchinson is a guy who like jumps off of the athletic markers, even though he's an athletic dude himself. It's just those are the dudes that usually go number one overall at edge. It's just interesting because he's a defensive tackle. He had the most impressive combine of all time, but at defensive tackle. And I wonder how much that's going to get you at defensive tackle.
Facts. Dustin Croft here for $4.99 says, do you all have example of players that have missed their entire rookie year that ever ended up fully developing? Seems like they never developed. I think for the Bengals, Jonah Williams. Another one, William Jackson. Why am I rattling these off? Because for about 4 or 5 consecutive years, the Bengals' first round pick always got injured before they played a snap their rookie year. So they essentially basically missed their entire rookie year. But those were 2 guys that did develop. Guys that didn't, Billy Price, and I think that there were some other ones. Do you guys have any on your team that set their entire rookie year and never ended up that actually ended up fully developing?
The only guy I can remember is like Grant Delpit, but like it's too early to call that one, right? Right. Yeah, I mean, like it just doesn't happen that often, right? Like, so it's not a sample size that you can really make any decisions off of. And I think you can write if a guy works or if a guy doesn't because, he missed that rookie year off on, well, maybe he just wasn't that good, right? Or maybe he wasn't going to ever be that good anyways. I think that has a lot more to do with it. But it's one of those things where like it's a player by player thing, right? Jalen, what was the guy from Dallas? Jalen. Jalen Marks? No.
Mills? No, not Mills. Jalen
Mills was
someone in chat.
Notre Dame. We'll
get it here in a second.
Yeah, we'll get it here in the chat.
For the Steelers, I think the only guy I can remember.
Miles Jack was another guy who didn't play his first year, right?
Did he not play?
Yeah, because that's why he
I
went
think
in the
he played.
round.
I think he
did play.
Why did he fall in the second round? Did
he had red flags. He had like red medical flags. The other guy from Dallas, I think you're talking about, is that linebacker, Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith. Thank you.
Smith.
Which worked out for like 3 years and then just like stopped once they got Michael Parsons.
Yeah.
Then they got rid of him.
Someone in chat, tell me a Steeler guy because I feel like I'm missing someone. Rashard Mendenhall is the only one I can think. And I wouldn't say he fully developed, but if he doesn't fumble, they win that Super Bowl. So,
What he did.
King T Raw for $5 says, Q, don't sleep on Tony. If he came to the Browns, that's a great pickup, and we'll have him his 5th year. All right. So we obviously know the draft is next week. If you guys are following, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, but make sure you turn on the alerts because next week around this time, actually, like Tony said the day before today, next Thursday, we will be live covering the first round of the draft. So we will have AFC North Talk, our roundtable doing that. But this is our final draft show. I guess if you say before the actual draft. So we want to leave you guys with some final thoughts. So I will start off here with the Bengals as far as what the Bengals are probably thinking or what I think my final thoughts are. For me, I'm between a couple of positions here, right? I really feel like the Bengals are really leaning towards defense. I think that they kind of showed their hand in free agency, going heavy offensive. offensive line. They really retooled that side of the ball. They only brought back Eli Apple. They brought back Flowers. I think that they're looking at a corner, but I also think that 3 technique is definitely a huge possibility. With them not bringing Larry Ogunjobi back, they brought BJ Hill back, but they kind of need a 5 tech as well. And so I think debating about where they're at, which is 31, which is really closer to the second round, I think that that's an option. I also think edge rusher is an option. But if I had to call it today, I'm going to go with a corner. I think the Bengals are going to take a corner, whoever is one of the top ones that's left. It won't be McDuffie because he'll be gone. It won't be Sauce. It won't be Stingley. I think it's going to be between Booth and Kyer Elam. I have a feeling it might be Kyer Elam. As much as I'm not a huge fan of Kyer Elam. It might be that guy. If not one of those guys, I think you could be looking at potentially Logan Hall or possibly Perrion Winfrey.
Hey, stop it.
But we'll see. I think that there is a chance that one of those guys get taken there. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was someone like a Dax Hill or even Brisker as well. Keep an eye on that. So
yeah, true.
I think either of those guys could potentially be the pick. Tony, what are you thinking for the Steelers? Because I'm feeling like it's a quarterback, but what is Steeler Nation kind of thinking of what the Steelers might do, and what do you think they might do?
Yeah, I mean, I think, with the Steelers, it's not a question of like who they like, right? It's just a question of whether they go up and get someone or the guy that they like falls to them. I think this year is no different. Look, they're in on this quarterback class. It's just you can't really narrow down who they really like and who they don't because they saw everybody. They brought everybody in for a visit. They went to every pro day. So the only rumor that we know is that they like Malik Willis, or at least they did. There was that, by the way, there's a report from Matt Miller, who works for ESPN now, formerly of Bleacher Report. He has his own Substack, I think, but
I feel old when I see him on ESPN now. I'm like, man, I remember when he was a young dude on Bleacher Report, back when Bleacher Report was like a new thing, right? Remember that?
Yeah. And he's good, and he does do pretty good reporting about like who teams are interested in. But he had a report, I think it was yesterday, where he said the Steelers only like Kenny Pickett. That's the only quarterback they like, which I find to be shocking that they don't like that. They're all this, that the Malik Willis stuff is a smokescreen. The Steelers never smokescreen. But then he writes that the Steelers are going to take a tackle. That's what they're leaning at 20, which is just absurd. If that would break tradition, right? The one thing I'll leave Steelers fans with this: if you are looking for who are the Steelers going to take next Thursday, look at the pro days that Mike Tomlin, Kevin Colbert attended. The Steelers since 2009 have drafted a player in the first round where either Mike Tomlin or Kevin Colbert were in attendance at the pro day. The only top 100 tackles in this class that match that are Evan Neal and Ike Ekwonu. Now, yes, if either of those guys were available at 20, would the Steelers take them? Probably, because they're both top 5, top 10 picks. So, yeah.
I mean, if Ekwonu was there at 20, yes, you split your booty up there and take him.
I think they'll take Ekwonu if he's there at 20. But otherwise, like, look, they're gonna. I think that for me, I think the Steelers are trading up and getting Willis. That has been my thought since the combine, right? Since I saw Mike Tomlin smiling at the combine and the whole crew chatting with him, chatting with coaches. And then, the fact that they made it to Liberty's pro day, Mike Tomlin, Kevin Colbert went to Liberty's pro day.
Yeah, I don't think there was anybody else on that roster.
No, probably not. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just a question of, does he fall far enough for the Steelers to make a move up to get him? If they stay at 20, I hope they don't take a quarterback. They don't take the best of the rest. I would, at that point, lean defense, defensive line, corner, whether it's Andrew Booth or, Devontae Wyatt or, Jordan Davis. Safety was one I was thinking they would take if they didn't take a quarterback at 20. Now with Edmunds coming back, and I still like Scene, I think is how you pronounce, or Sign from Georgia.
Yeah, Scene, he's pretty good.
Dax Hill I like. So those guys would be nice options. But yeah, I mean, for Steeler fans tuning in on Thursday, get there early, okay? Because our pick is probably going to be up before you know it.
I cannot wait for one. And if you're watching right now, you better not miss this live when they trade up and watch what props Tony's going to bring out. I know Tony's bringing some props out. If they trade up, you best believe Tony's bringing out some props.
My wife's going to come in here with a defibrillator to keep my heart beating as I'm going to freak out about who they take.
You're not gonna pull the chef's
Oh, that's
hat
gonna be
out?
the longest 5 minutes of your life because
Oh.
you're like, I'm pretty sure this is Malik Willis,
Yeah.
but it could
And
be
then it's gonna
Desmond
be like Kenny
Ritter.
Pickett.
I don't
I'm gonna-
understand.
The funny thing
Yeah, well,
is,
here's
the
the
funny
thing.
thing is, Tony, I seem
Yeah.
to remember early on in last season, I thought that you actually liked Kenny Pickett at one point because he went to Pitt, right? This is the Pitt quarterback. Like a lot of people were kind of like, oh, Kenny Pickett. What changed along the way for you to say like, now I don't want him?
I don't dislike Kenny Pickett. I know there are a lot of people who say, Kenny Pickett, he's like not a first round pick at all. I think there's enough there with him. Look, the big question about Kenny Pickett is, does he have a ceiling at all? Right? Like where is his ceiling? Because it's, this whole high floor thing. Like I don't buy into high floor. I also don't know that I buy into like there's no higher ceiling for Kenny. It is the big worry when you watch him on tape for sure. But yeah, I just don't want the Steelers to draft Kirk Cousins, right? I mean,
You don't want
would
the
rather
Andy
that
Dalton. Andy Dalton's coming to town.
Probably not. I would rather them take, I see someone in chat right here saying like Willis is raw, he's going to be a bust. Fine. Look, let's just call a spade a spade. The Steelers are whoever they take at quarterback, they're probably going to pick the wrong guy because 30% of the 30% is the hit rate of quarterbacks in the first round. If you take a quarterback in the first round, you will probably miss just by law of averages, Right. So they're probably going to miss. Again, the thing for me here is process. And I think Malik Willis fits the bill here because one, if you love him, go up and get him. And two, get a guy who has a really high ceiling, not a low or not a high floor.
All right. Q, what are your final thoughts on the Browns draft? I know you guys have to wait until day 2. Do you see them trading up into day 1, or do they stay in round 2? And if they do, what do they get there?
Dog, they got no ability to trade in a day 1. There's no way that they can conjure up. There's absolutely no way. I have this note here. I found this. I put this in my desk at the beginning of the draft process. After one of the greatest GMs of all time, Sonny, whatever the hell his name was in that movie. And I have this list. I have this note here I wrote to myself, and it says,
Perry on Winfrey.
No matter what. Well, he's not going to be.
What if he's taken though?
Yeah, he's not going to be.
If he's taken, what happens?
Trade out. No,
trade out.
Trade out. Then you probably take Travis Jones, right? You live with Logan Hall. Logan Hall probably, if Perrion gone and Logan Hall probably gone, then you probably like, all right, Travis Jones, get on up here. You know what I mean? Or you take a wide receiver, and maybe you take a George Pickens or something like that.
No. No, never mind. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, George Pickens. Sure.
No. Who you want?
No. Who you want?
Who did you have to say, Tony? Come on.
I swear, if George Pickens is a Brown, I'm an F1 guy. Big F1 guy. Big sprint race tomorrow, everybody. Check it out. ESPN. Be watching it.
Oh, yeah. You think you like the comparisons to George Pickens to AJ Green. I remember that.
Yeah, no, I like George Pickens. I think George Pickens is the best receiver in this draft. So,
I could see that.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, if we can't get Perrion Winfrey, I guess we'll live with George Pickens. But,
Okay. George Pickens definitely would be a value
44 is a great spot. You know what I mean?
This is true. And the Browns do need a receiver.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Browns do need a receiver. So Sonny obviously can't be here with us. So one of the things that I decided to do was I actually pulled up Josh Norris's mock draft because he had the legendary mock draft score last year where he actually predicted, I believe, 50%, 16 out of the 32. Now, this is going to be a hard draft to do that, right?
Yeah.
But I'm looking at Josh Norris's mock draft here, and he actually has the Ravens landing Jermaine Johnson. That would actually be pretty scary because I think that would be a slam dunk pick for them. But if Sonny were here, I'm going to ask you guys what you think Sonny would do. Tony, what would Sonny do and say his final thoughts are?
He wants a wide receiver bad in this class. He wants a wide receiver bad.
And you know what? he doesn't want a tall wide receiver like a Drake London or something. You know what he wants? Jameson Williams. That's who Sonny wants.
Yeah, that's right. No physicality. Really, Sonny likes his receivers to be,
small,
more of like the lanky. Yeah, undersized,
fast, can't really jump, and coming off an Achilles tear. Like that's what.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Doesn't really fight for the ball. Like you want a guy whose big weakness is he doesn't fight for the ball. I think that's what.
Yeah, like Garrett Wilson out the window for the Ravens. Not the type of wide receiver they want. Chris Olave though. Yeah, that's more down there. He just fast.
No, I look. Sonny, I think is all in on. He said two things, right? D-line or is it trenches? I mean, look, Sonny's got a brand.
Trenches.
Sonny's all about the trenches. So no, he's already talked big about D-line and O-line potentially. You know, I think he's still on Linderbaum. I think 14 is too high at this point for Linderbaum, but D-line, O-line, edge. I'm surprised he's not in on corner as much. This is a good corner class. One of those top 3 guys is there at 14. Look, I know that they have a good corner room as far as starters, but look behind that is a whole lot of nothing. And Peters, I believe, is in a contract here. So I think corner's got to be in play for the Ravens.
Definitely. Q, what do you think Sonny would do? Do you think the same thing or?
Boye Mafe, right? Like that's the type of beef that they would go for the first round. Boye Mafe, right? The converted tight end that's long and strong, but not a lot of production. Just like Odafe Owe. And we know how Sonny loved that pick last year.
Yep. Yeah.
No, I think Sonny would. Offensive line's not off the table for him, but he doesn't love any of the offensive linemen that he thinks would be there. He like Lindenbaum's his guy, right?
Yeah.
And he's probably not gonna be there when the Ravens pick. Other than that, I think Sonny would want to go Jordan Davis there. And it's a very real, scary possibility that Jordan Davis might be there when the Ravens pick. So I'm going to need somebody to make that man a top 5 pick. # Jordan Davis in the top 5. We need to do it. If the Browns can't get him, nobody in the AFC North can even sniff him. Okay, let somebody in it. Carolina, do your thing. I know you drafted D Brown like a year ago. Nah. Pair him up with some Jordan Davis there at pick number 6. I'm gonna need somebody to do something wild to make sure that I don't have to sweat this one out on stream on AFC North Talk on Thursday live for everybody.
Facts. So we got another super chat here from Akalon for $5. Q, did you upload a video in the middle of streaming? Keep grinding, Q. Also, wasn't sure if you saw earlier, but Miz is representing the Browns in the draft.
Yeah, that's my video got blurry in the middle of the stream.
Multitasking.
Had to get the upload on.
Grinding. Gotta respect the grind for sure.
Yeah, I saw the Miz thing. Miz is cool. You know what I mean? Good for Miz. Congratulations to him. I'm pretty sure it's pretty cool for the Miz.
Yes, sir.
Did you like AEW the other night? Did you enjoy that?
Oh, did you see Najee Harris like have the time of his life?
You did.
Oh. No, Najee Harris was there, and like they had him and Pat Firemouth there during the Britt Baker match, and Pat's just chilling, but Najee. Oh, he's been waiting his whole life to be at this wrestling because he's slapping the mat, he's smacking stuff, he's getting hype at the moves. Every time somebody gets body slam, he's doing this. And then after that, they do a promo in the ring. And Pat's doing what he's supposed to do. He's standing there, but Najee is in this promo, dog. He is out here hyping up Britt Baker like he's Suge Knight at the Source Awards. And then he gets his hand on, I don't know if you caught this one because it was only on the live view. They didn't put it up on YouTube. But after Britt Baker talks, she hands the mic to Najee Harris. And Najee then proceeds to grab the mic and ask, is this microphone on? And it was on. And they had to cut it off immediately because who knows what Najee
no.
That microphone. But shout out to him. That man came down with the terrible towel cape, like the giant terrible towel. Was out there repping. He had so much fun that night. Najee Harris is a man who lives with a zest for life. And I gotta appreciate that. That man was like, I'm gonna have as much fun as humanly possible at this given moment. And boy, did he.
Yes, sir. Got another super chat here. The last one of the day from Pirate King Uzumaki for $2. What are y'all feelings on the DE from Purdue? I believe is that Karlaftis? Karlaftis. Not a fan personally. I think he's cool, but it's not. I get Sam Hubbard vibes from him. I don't get Trey Hendrickson vibes. So more Sam Hubbard, less Trey Hendrickson. If he was there, I would definitely think about it. But if I got somebody like a Drake Jackson, who's one of my favorites, I'd probably lean towards him. But he is going to be a solid guy. But I just think for us, we already have that guy in Sam Hubbard. What about you guys?
I have not watched the edge rushers this year because the Steelers are pretty set.
When you have TJ Watt,
Yeah, we're pretty set there.
Miles
So
Garrett, you know what I mean?
only you have Miles Garrett. These guys aren't looking at any edges.
So,
These guys are looking at edges as much as I am looking at receivers. Okay, so they are probably not looking.
This draft class is a waste for Ace. They talk about 10 first-round pick wide receivers. You're like, man, I can't draft another one. We don't got room for another one.
We might take one though. We might take one in like the third round, like somebody that was
Pickens, just the next AJ Green, just to have him run out there to slot. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think Kartofflis is the TJ Watt of this draft. I think people were onto it early and they came off of it as team boards started to come out. So I think he's going to go later than people expect. But I think he's going to be a tremendous player. He just knows how to play football well. Now, look, I was like this with Jalen Phillips last year, and it didn't really work out like that. So it could be wrong here. But I think he's more likely to be closer, not TJ, because TJ Watt is incredible, right? He's more likely to be closer to TJ Watt than Aiden Hutchinson will be closer to a Bosa brother.
Okay. I can see that.
Now, that's not a wild take, but watch somebody in about 12 months remix what I just said and say, Quincy compared him to TJ Watt, said he's the next TJ Watt. He's going to be TJ Watt's clone. Like, oh, God, here it goes.
They got to keep the whole part of it. Uh-oh. Tony's thinking about doing something there. We got Adam Ortman.
I was thinking about derailing the show is what I was thinking about doing, but I'm not going to do. Keep going. I'm not derailing.
Adam Ortman for 199 says, what's each team's divisional record? For me, I think it's just too early to kind of say that. I would have to see like the draft play out and stuff like that to be able to tell. And, I have to see if Lamar Jackson is going to request a trade or not since they haven't extended him. So for me, I cannot answer that right now. What about you guys?
Is Lamar Jackson, Deebo Samuel, and A.J. Brown behind the scenes trying to negotiate something to where they could all play together next year? Is this a LeBron
thing again?
Thing? Are they trying to line up their free agency? I don't know, man. Raven fans, I'll be worried about that. Y'all about to get Miami.
I don't know what the Steelers divisional record is going to be in 2022, but I know in 2021 they swept the Browns, swept the Ravens. The other two games in the division, boy, it's been so long since the season ended. Yeah, I can't remember. Honestly, the other two games, I can't remember. Yeah, not off the top of my head. I do remember they swept the Browns and Ravens, though.
Okay. Remember, the AFC North last year was rock, paper, scissors. Like, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Steelers, Ravens were a wash. Bengals.
Everybody got swept by one team in the division, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
Everybody got swept
by the Browns.
The Browns got us. We swept the Ravens and we swept the Steelers. We swept both.
Yeah, Bengals beat everybody.
I don't think the Ravens swept anybody. Did the Ravens sweep anybody?
No, the Ravens had 2 division wins. They had 2. They had. Did they beat the Steelers?
No.
Swept. No, they had a division win.
One win in the division.
They got 1 out of 6. They got 1 out of 6.
Lamar wants to listen. What I say about Lamar in big moments, he looks at the rest of his division.
Hey man, I think we're gonna have to change the logo. We made an agreement that whoever had the worst record in the division had to change the logo. But I think we might have to make an exception for it to be the Ravens since they were 1-6 in the division. I don't know. We'll have to
they were last. They were last.
Or we should make their logo even better. We should make their logo and Lamar Jackson's picture on the AFC North Talk thumbnails 1/6 of the size of everybody else's. You know what I mean? Just 1/6, or we reduce Sonny's pay to 1/6.
Wow,
Sonny, we had to mess with you, Sonny. But next week, you guys stay tuned. Be sure to be here next week for all of your AFC North news and analysis, but also the draft. We will be going live on Thursday, so don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We got big things coming your way. Don't forget, next Thursday, we're doing the draft, and this has been AFC North Talk.
Harris after that last run at 94 yards. Pittsburgh hasn't had a 100-yard rusher in 16 games in